welcome into the double FU, the FU times two, the fantasy football universe. I am Jeremy Schulman at Stop Fading Raheem. I mean FF_Rebel. This is Jesse Moeller at JMoeller05. We are here to discuss our top 10, 20, 30, all of them, quarterback rankings for week 10. We'll also be getting into the tight ends who, we care less about, but we still got to go over them. We'll make sure that you understand our feelings about these guys headed into a crazy week 10. Jesse, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm exhausted. How you doing, man?
I'm good. This Thursday night game, which this show is going to come out before the Thursday night game, but the Bengals and the Ravens, the over-under is like 54 points. That game has me feeling nicey, and you will understand why both Burrow and Lamar are sky high on our rankings because we are excited for that one. So, yeah, I mean, we got some fun stuff to get into. We were just looking at our rankings and wondering what the differences are for these guys, but, we'll sort through it and go from there.
How do you like my John Gruden impression?
I like it. It's very good. Feeling real. Yeah, we need to order those Chucky pictures and I start wearing them. The FFU got me feeling nicey, shit like that. Yeah.
I don't know who told him to do that.
Oh, so good.
It works.
It's like unhinged content. It's hilarious.
Ridiculous. Anyway, we're not here to talk about John Gruden. We're here to talk about our quarterbacks. And we have a top tier. As always, we're going to go through 6 players. We're going to talk about the players we like the most this week. Just interesting storylines, who we want to talk about. So our consensus top 6 quarterbacks for week 10. We have Josh Allen at 1, Jalen Hurts at 2, Lamar Jackson at 3, Joe Burrow 4, Brock Purdy 5 coming off the bye, and Jaden Daniels at 6. Jesse, who do you want to talk about?
I mean, we could talk about why Josh Allen's the top guy. Our difference is a little bit this week. Like, I have Lamar QB1 because you went up against the Bengals. You have Allen QB1 because you're going up against the Colts defense, right? And we have seen the issues this Colts defense has at stopping anyone. Like, they just completely struggle against quarterbacks. And when you have Allen, who is the offense revolves around him to such a degree, it's just so much easier for him and guys like Lamar to score these fantasy points than these standstill quarterbacks. So, like, we like Burrow a lot this week, but this why he's a little bit lower. Purdy has just a juicy matchup going up against Tampa Bay, who gives up the most fantasy points to any position. And we saw this last week with Mahomes. Like, Mahomes looked like an actual good fantasy quarterback for the first time all year because he was playing Tampa Bay. So Purdy, who's just been better the entire season, gets that Tampa Bay defense. That's why he's top 5 for us. Like, it lights out. It's a laser show for him. The interesting thing, the guy in 6th place, Jaden Daniels, is because he's playing Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is the exact opposite matchup, right? Like, Pittsburgh does not give up fantasy points. They just don't give up a lot of touchdowns. Like, they give up 0 rushing yards. I think they average 7 rushing yards a game. The touchdowns, they only give up 1 passing touchdown. It's like 230. So it's like, it's decent, but it's just they're not giving you the high-end output. So that's why we're a little bit lower on Jaden Daniels this week. But that's, like we talked about this with Lamar, this is basically as low as we could rate Jaden Daniels. Like, you can't push him any lower. Like, I'm not going to push him below Darnold or Cousins or anything like that.
Right.
That's how they kind of work out for us.
Yeah, totally agree. And with Josh Allen, that Indy front line has been getting pressure. I think they get pressure again here, which forces Josh Allen to run more. It doesn't hurt him. It actually helps him in terms of scoring fantasy points. You might be able to say the same thing about Lamar on a short week with Trey Hendrickson and his 4 sacks last week. But yeah, I trust that Baltimore line a little bit more than I do Josh Allen. And I certainly trust Derrick Henry a lot more than I trust those backs, although good, those backs in Buffalo. So I think Josh Allen's going to be running for his life. But yeah, Allen, Hurts, Lamar, however you want to stack them at the top. And then Joe Burrow against Baltimore going off. Might have T. Higgins, maybe not, doesn't matter. Gesicki's been a good replacement. And Khalil Herbert is not going to force the Bengals to run the football. So, I think he's going to be chucking it around the yard yet again. Let's go to 7 through 12. So our next tier of quarterbacks here, we have Sam Darnold at 7. That's my fault. It's both of our faults this week. But yeah, it's Sam Darnold's fault. It's Kevin O'Connell's fault, really. Sam Darnold at 7, Kirk Cousins at 8, Danny Jones at 9. Baker Mayfield 10, Jared Goff 11, and Matthew Stafford making the top 12 and rounding it out. Who do you like here, Justin?
I mean, there's a reason Darnold is at 6 and 7 for us. Like, we're both really high on him because he's playing the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. For those that don't know, like we talk about juicy matchups, the Jaguars, they gave up 26.7 points per game, which is more than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have passed them because they've been so bad. Their defense is just atrocious. Their offense has to try and keep pace with T-Law. It's been really up or down for them. And the thing is, like, Minnesota's defense is able to, I think they're going to give them some problems. So that's why we'll talk about T-Law a little bit later. But yeah, you have Cousins going against just a depleted New Orleans defense that is a shell of itself. And it might sound crazy to talk about Daniel Jones top 10, but like, this is the problem with Carolina. They cannot stop anyone. And the issue is more on the ground, and Daniel Jones is a rushing quarterback. So I think Daniel Jones can get some rushing and also rushing touchdowns in this game too. Once we get into running backs, we love Tracy, but the reason is just like I want to play everybody in this game because I don't trust these defenses. So as crazy as it sounds, we're trusting the Giants and Carolina Panthers offense, but sometimes that's how it goes weekly, and we'll see if it works out for us. It's fine.
Listen, man. You say Daniel Jones is a rushing quarterback. Daniel Jones is the rushing quarterback. Unbelievable the amount of times this guy is running the football. He's running for his life back there, and he only scored his first rushing touchdown of the season last week. But this guy's got 239 yards rushing already. He's likely or very close to likely to hit that illustrious 500-yard rushing mark on just 60 attempts. So he's running for his life. His yards per carry are down, but it doesn't matter. He's still running a ton against Carolina. Forget about it. Baker Mayfield's been playing out of his mind against San Francisco. You don't love the matchup. It's not as daunting as it's been in years past. On the same token, Baker Mayfield's been playing out of his mind. He went nuts on KC in terms of however you can go nuts on KC. He did it last week and looked great doing it. So yeah, I don't mind that. But yeah, Daniel Jones still over Baker Mayfield this week. And Kirk Cousins, Marshawn Lattimore out of town. They're dropping like flies in that secondary. New Orleans is just straight up bad. We love it for fantasy. We love it for their opponents. We love it for whoever is left standing in New Orleans on offense as well. But yeah, it's just the Saints are down bad this year. Yeah. So bad. Let's move on. This is tier 3. We got Tua at 13, Aaron Rodgers at 14, Patrick Mahomes 15, Kyler at 16, Justin Herbert at 17, and the most disappointing probably fantasy quarterback, even more than Patrick Mahomes this year, CJ Stroud at 18.
So that's the biggest gap in our rankings we have. I have Stroud at 14. You have him at 25. And the whole thought process is with their defense is they don't give up passing touchdowns to Lions, though. They're giving up a ton of passing yards, but they're not giving up the passing touchdowns. And if you want to make the case that Joe Mixon is going to get all touchdowns in this game, I'm fully on board with it. But he's getting Nico Collins back this week. And that's the thing I'm a little bit more bullish on with Stroud because he gives him another weapon. It seems like Tank Dell is coming on. You kind of let Dalton Schultz do this thing. Obviously, it has not worked out very well this year where he's not gotten a lot of yards. A lot of touchdowns and yards combined. But overall, in this matchup against Detroit, I don't trust their pass rush. But on the flip side, they can't keep them upright. So there's kind of a give in between. I just think the over-under is pretty high. You are going to have to keep pace with the Lions to have a shot because their defense they're not going to win that. So that's why I'm much more bullish on Stroud. It's just with these passing quarterbacks, it just comes out of touchdowns, right? Can they get the touchdowns or can they not? So when you see Tua up there, it's a really juicy matchup between him and the Rams game with Stafford. That's why they're 12-13. So you can kind of see why we have certain guys there. But I think that one to point out is just by far our biggest discrepancy in rankings. The rest of them were really close. I think we're on par with Herbert. We're right there with Murray. Mahomes against the Denver defense is interesting. I still want to see it with Mahomes. So that's why he's down lower. Because I think consensus had him top 10. And I was like, I get it. He's got name cachet, but let's pull up the brakes on Mahomes a little bit. Yeah. It was Tampa Bay. That defense is abysmal. So then, and people are probably remembering how the Ravens just eviscerated the Denver defense. That Baltimore offense is a unit. They kind of they're their own thing. I don't really want to trade too much of that. Mm-hmm. So with Mahomes, we're kind of middle of the pack with it. I want to see it again. And Rodgers over Mahomes. That's the world we're at right now. It's a wild time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially against Arizona. I know Arizona did what they can to bolster up that team, but they're really going to struggle against this Jets defense on offense, and that's going to leave neutral game scripts for Aaron Rodgers. I think Breece Hall gets it done this week, but Breece Hall's, I wrote this up earlier today, Breece Hall's targets have been down bad the last 2 games since Devontae Adams has been integrated. I think that starts to normalize. Teams are going to realize that they didn't forget they needed to cover Devontae Adams, but they see him out there. He's more integrated, and they're like, oh, Adams and Garrett Wilson, all the coverage flows to them, and Brees is left once again alone underneath. I think that starts this week. So Aaron Rodgers is going to eat no matter who he's throwing to. There's going to be somebody wide open on damn near every play, especially against Arizona. Yeah, and with CJ Stroud, my rankings will need to come up on him. I did do them just before the Nico news came out that he looks great and is ready to go. I was assuming no Nico. With Nico, Stroud will need to be higher for sure. Let's move on to the next tier. We've got at 19, Caleb Williams against the Pats, Trevor Lawrence at 20, Bo Nix 21 against Kansas City. Russell Wilson 22, Derek Carr 23, and Bryce Young rounding it out at 24 ahead of Drake May somehow.
There's some problems in these matchups. Like yeah. I and this is about the biggest place we'll push up Bryce Young at the moment, just because our offense is not that good. On the flip side, I don't really trust the Giants defense against them. So like that's why he's alongside Drake May and Derek Carr and all these other guys. I think he can do enough to have a decent game. But we saw even against the depleted Saints, they didn't look great. They were just an okay offense. So he kind of falls down. Wilson's interesting. I think Russell Wilson's the most interesting because he's been really efficient. He's been really good in his time as the Pittsburgh quarterback. So I'm curious to see if that Washington defense is kind of still trending in the right direction, if they're able to contain this offense, because they really didn't have many weapons outside of George Pickens. They had Mike Williams. I don't know how interested or invested he's going to be in this game because it's his first game, kind of like what we saw Deontay Johnson last week. We didn't know. So, and with the flip side, like that defense is so good, that's why Jaden Daniels is lower. So like I think it kind of normalizes the two where it comes down where you could stream Russell Wilson, but like this is a treacherous group of players. Bo Nix, he's going up against Kansas City. Probably need to move up a few spots, but Caleb in that offense has just been so bad, man. It's I want to trust Caleb. I just can't right now. So that's why he falls outside our top 18.
Yeah, I get it. And with Caleb, you just don't know who you're going to get. He's still a rookie. He's still developing. The problem really is that New England defense, they're going to be able to take away most of what they're trying to do. I think Cole Kmet probably has a better game than he's had in the last couple of weeks. But outside of that, we'll see. Rome can get free. It's just a matter of if Caleb can hit him. And even though Uche's gone, even though the Pats are kind of in disarray, they still have a decent enough pass rush, especially against the Bears offensive line that has not been good this season. And then, of course, Bo Nix. We love Bo Nix, but not against Kansas City. Bo Nix against Kansas City is treacherous. And I just think that's going to – oh, man, how many times does he get put on his back in this game, Jesse? Over, under – 20 times Bo Nix is on his back in this game.
Yeah, he's going to be
rough.
The pressure rate's going to be really high. Thankfully, he's a good scrambling quarterback. He can give you a little bit. It's just, I think the question really comes down to if he can give you those garbage time points. Like that's what we were banking on with Baltimore last week. We didn't get it, but he was still top 15 in that matchup. So I'm curious to see where he ends up in this week. If he's able to show that he can give you some garbage time against the KC defense, we'll see. But on the flip side, the Kansas City offense needs to show like they could, get out to a really big lead in this game against the Denver defense. The Denver defense is good. So, yeah, I'm not really bullish on either quarterback, especially to tell you the truth.
Agree. Let's move on. We got Drake May at 25, Joe Flacco 26, Cooper Rush in Dallas. Yikes. 27, Mason Rudolph 28, Andy Dalton 29, and Will Levis is 30. I don't know why Will Levis is 30 ahead of a starter.
Yeah,
ahead of a starter.
We'll just say Mr. Mayo. It's not good. I don't think we're playing either one of those guys, to tell you the truth. So
yeah, it's probably Mason. Oh yeah, no, but we're missing
he's 28
a starter in here. No, but who are? Oh, because there's 4 teams on bye. I see what you're saying. So yeah, Mason Rudolph is the cap there. So let's talk about Drake May, Flacco, Cooper Rush, and Mason Rudolph, or not.
Yeah, the one guy in this group I'm willing to play is Drake May because he's by far the best quarterback. It's just the Chicago Bears defense is ridiculously good. We saw what they did to Jay Daniels in the Washington offense. They made it a nightmare for them. Now, they still ended up scoring the last minute, the touchdown drive where they had the Hail Mary and all that fun stuff. But before that, they could barely score in that game. So with Drake May's lack of talent around him and the O-line, Chicago's going to be putting consistent pressure up with him. Now, I think he can elevate them where he can score a lot of fantasy points because he had basically 100 yards rushing last week. And we'll see if he can burn these Chicago defenders. I think it's entirely possible, but they're giving up 11 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. Like, we had to knock Drake May down in this quarterback game. And on the flip side, like, their offense just isn't that good. So I don't think Chicago's going to score a ton of points. Maybe they will. Like, they have the personnel to do it. But, like, that's kind of the issue. So if we saw this game and if it was projected for a higher total, I might put Drake May up. But, like, I think it's just going to be a low-scoring affair where both teams struggle offensively, where Caleb's really not doing that much. And then on the flip side, Drake May's not really doing that much. So it's just kind of a game where it's like, I'm not super excited about these two really talented rookies, but this is just a week where I kind of want to avoid them if at all possible. And with Joe Flacco, like, he was on his ass all day. He was terrible last week. He gets another just vaunted defense in Buffalo, whose pressure rates are really good. Their defense is
insane,
fantastic. And like the way you beat them is up the middle, like through the spine. Like, Indy's not going to do that. Like, their offense line struggles. So they're going to be counting on Flacco, and he's going to be under duress. And it's just could be another bad game for the Indianapolis Colts offense, unfortunately.
For sure. Epinesa, Ed Oliver, those guys are getting home, it seems like, every damn play against mediocre offensive lines. And we got another one here in Indy. Talking about Drake May, Chicago prefers to be kind of a run funnel just with how good their secondary is. The thing to look out for is Montez Sweat. He did not play last week. If he, check out practice reports. If he doesn't play, you might have a small amount of confidence in firing up Drake May. That said, Darrell Taylor looked awesome last week. Darrell Taylor from his Seattle days. So, he's fine as a pass rusher. He's no Montez Sweat, but he's certainly good enough to get home, especially against whoever the hell the Patriots are rolling out at offensive line. That Drake May play, there's a tweet about it. I'm going to have to, maybe I'll put it in the chat in one of the lives this weekend, but there's a tweet that says, like, watch number 74, who is like the Patriots left guard in the play, like what he does during this 20-second scramble where Drake May runs around in fear of his life, legitimately, and then throws that touchdown to Ramondre Stevenson to tie the game. Number 74 blocks 0 people on the play in 20 seconds. But then what I did, because I'm a insane Pats fan, is I watched every other single lineman, and really only one lineman out of the 5 blocked more than one guy on that play. It was just disgusting. So Drake May, it's so bad. So if Sweat suits up and he says he's good to go at 100%, it's going to be even worse. It's going to be even worse, Jesse. Right. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. Let's move on, thankfully or not thankfully, to tight end here. We'll talk about our tight end rankings here. Again, these are our consensus half PPR rankings. So let's keep that in mind as we move forward, as I try to figure out how to properly, actually their PPR rankings, apologies, because for some reason the site doesn't do half PPR rankings. Lucky us. Anyway, we're moving on. We got Travis Kelce, consensus 1, Trey McBride 2, George Kittle 3, Cade Otton 4. These are wild times, Jesse. Evan Ingram, tight end 5, and TJ Hawkinson rounding out the top 6. What do you think?
Yeah, like it's interesting with Kelce. He's had back-to-back 20-plus point performances. Like, ever since the injuries have happened, and they brought, like, what I like about the DeAndre Hopkins addition is he kind of frees him up a little bit. The unfortunate thing of that offense is it's still not connected with Xavier Worthy. Like we saw early, he had a touchdown opportunity. His dumbass just stepped out of bounds, and they're like, well, guess what? It's going to be a Kelce, it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins game. So you can see how this offense features these guys. Kelce is, like, he's pushing for the tight end one. Obviously, George Kittle's being so well, he's far and above. Kittle's at, like, 18 points per game. We have, like, McBride at 13, Kelce's at 12. But you're making a case for these guys who kind of push him. So we'll see. The matchup isn't the best in the world. It's going up against Denver, but, like, the way that his usage is the past couple of weeks, it's really hard to knock him or any one of these guys. I think if you're starting either one of these guys, in particular Evan Ingram this week, like we saw his usage last week, right? And the offense struggled, but they heavily featured him. Going up against Minnesota, and I think those linebackers are going to have a hard time covering Evan Ingram this week. That's really the one thing I like. I think that's going to be the focal point of the offense. This is going to work. The rest of the offense, I don't know. Like, I like Brian Thomas Jr. and stuff, but I think Evan Ingram's going to get plenty hyper-targeted and have a really productive game against those linebackers. I don't think they can cover him.
Yeah, let's hope so. I think my only concern with Ingram is just how crappy that team has been. We'll see if everybody plays, but everybody played last week, and I know they were probably hampered. Everybody being ETN, Bigsby, and BTJ, and none of them had a good game. I don't think any of them are really going to have a good game here either, but that doesn't necessarily mean Evan Ingram goes off. It just probably means that the Jags do terribly. So we'll have to see if that happens again for him. But yeah, Trey McBride, he's my tight end 1 this week. He just looks so good. I don't care who he's playing. You fire him up, he's a top 3 option for sure. He absolutely crushed last week in a tougher matchup. So, he's a no doubter. And by crushed, I mean, he saw a lot of looks. He did score a touchdown. He had to run it in, but only 35 yards, I think, was Trey McBride, right? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he still looks damn good doing it. This matchup, not great either, but I think he will overcome. Travis Kelce, not a good one. George Kittle, decent matchup against Tampa. He should probably be my tight end 1, but he's my tight end 2, fading the crap out of George Kittle this week. Why not?
Yeah, we both put him at 2. I know, which is probably unhinged from us. I think it's interesting. And the guy we didn't even talk about, TJ Hawkinson, he's the last guy this year. He's playing Jacksonville's defense, who's just been atrocious. Why I wonder about him, and I was struggling to rank him personally, was I don't know how many routes he's going to play this game. Like, if he gets the full route tree, then it's like TJ Hawkinson back high inside everyone. But I'm just waiting to see it because he had like half the roll last week. It was like 60%. If they push it up to 80, like 80% of routes run, then we're wheels up. So that's why he's just a little bit lower in a good matchup against Jacksonville.
That's kind of why I'm assuming here. But the problem is with these teams that are incredibly good, that are shoe-ins to make the playoffs, that don't need these guys like Christian McCaffrey, for example. Not necessarily a shoe-in. He's more needed. But here, TJ Hawkinson, they don't need him to be good now. Isaiah Pacheco is another great example. When he's ready to return, they don't need him to kind of hit the ground running. They can slowly phase them in week on week. The thing is, this matchup is so good. He can run 30% of routes and still catch 2 touchdowns against Jacksonville. So, so we'll have to see what wins out here in terms of the usage or the matchup. But I'm betting on the matchup in this one. Let's go to tier 2. We're talking about Dalton Kincaid at 7, Kyle Pitts 8, who burned us last week, but he's got a juicy matchup. Mike Gesicki at 9. I am assuming, I'm not sure if you are, Jesse, that T. Higgins will not suit up on a short week since they play tomorrow. So that's why I have him higher. Andrews 10, Laporta 11, and Taysom Hill back in our lives at 12. Who do you like, Jesse?
So Kincaid's the most interesting on this group because his usage is really, really good. Like, even in week 9. See, he ran the team high total routes, double-digit targets for the second time in his career best over 55% of air yards. And guess what? What does that give you? 7 fantasy points a game. It's all there. He just needs to get the efficiency part of it. So if he's able to do that, Kincaid can be a difference-making tight end. Like, I think the talent's there. It's just, for whatever reason, he's not connecting with Josh Allen. And he really hasn't his entire career. If you look back to his time at Utah, he was really good at pushing the seam and breaking the defense, kind of stretching it downfield. I kind of want to see them do that with him, but they're probably going to do it with Keon Coleman. So we'll see. And that's why he's lower, even though he's ranked really high. And we like a lot of these guys. Like Pitts against New Orleans. Who the hell is going to guard Pitts in New Orleans? Like, you tell me a player that can guard him on there, I would love to see it. The interesting thing with, like, Gesicki, I expect him to play. That's why I'm top 10. Like, it's his routes run's not that high. So, like, even last week, he didn't run a ton of routes. It's just when he's on the field, his target share and everything's really, really good. So, like, they focalize him because he plays the slot, right? So he comes in to play the slot. If I'm them this week, like, I'm just boosting his slot percentage through the moon. And I'm letting his boat just go downfield because he's a big body guy that can make big plays, right? So you do that in a game that has 54 over-under this week. So we're riding with that. And, like, Taysom Hill, he's a Swiss Army knife. Like, if you have Taysom Hill, you're playing him. You're not benching him. The one thing why I'm significantly lower on Laporta than you is Jameson Williams is back. And I do not trust Sam Laporta from what I've seen this year with Jameson Williams coming back into the fold. Because he's going to get, like, a handful of targets, and so that's my worry with Laporta. If it changes, then I'll change my rankings moving forward. But he's the one I'm probably lowest on of this group. I'm treacherous with that, even though it's a really good offense. It's just like limited usage. That's what we're seeing.
I get it. That Houston defense, though, has just been so bad. I think this could be another, pushing 50-point performance from this Lions offense, and I think Sam Laporta, when that happens, can eat a little bit. So I don't think that, for me, it's tight end 9. I don't think that that's an egregious ranking of Sam Laporta, but I have had him significantly outside the top 12 the last few weeks for sure. Taysom Hill, I'm slightly lower on this week. I just do not trust The usage will be there. I just do not trust this team to do anything, especially against Atlanta, who's going to go off. They're going to need Taysom Hill. The problem is they're going to be down so many touchdowns right away that I think they just throw the ball. Taysom Hill did get 5 targets and caught 4 of them last week. So I am still firing him up in the flex in some spots, tight end needy teams as well, tight end premium leagues, of course. You still play him, I think. I just kind of want to temper expectations because this could be a situation where the team sucks and then you just don't get much.
It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, it is rough in New Orleans. It was so promising to start too. Let's move on because forget those Saints. Number 13, Jake Ferguson. 14, Jonnu Smith. 15, Cole Kmet. I feel like he's too low, but that's your fault, Jesse. 16, Hunter Henry, Jatavian Sanders at 17, and Zach Ertz at 18 to round out the next tier. What do you think?
I would love to trust Cole Kmet, but post-bye, he's seen 1 target in 2 games.
Yeah.
So, they've just gone away from him. And you could say it was matchups, but it was Washington and Arizona. It's not like they're the best defenses in the world, right? So, what I want to see from Cole Kmet is, can we get some of that old usage? But it's also he's not running as many routes as he was. They were involving freaking Gerald Everett a little bit more. So, dude, stop wasting your fucking time with Gerald Everett. We know what Gerald Everett is. Cole Kmet is a good young tight end. Let him be on the field, run all the routes. I just have a hard time trusting the Chicago offense. I don't know what Shane Waldron is doing. It's really hard. DJ Moore struggling. Romo Dunze had a good week last week, but he's been up and down. Keenan Allen, they're featuring him, but he just looks abysmal. I just don't understand what's going on there. And the other guys, it's an interesting group. I like Jonnu Smith against the Rams. His usage has been really good as of late. He seems like he's the focalized point of that offense, and they're going to score a lot of points. So, this is why I'm lower on freaking Jalen Waddle. It sucks. I like Jalen Waddle, but he's just not a feature point of that offense. And it's really a chain. And then it's Tyreek Hill and Jonnu Smith, and that's how that offense works out. So I put him there because it's really hard for me to put these other guys above him. But yeah, that's why I prefer Jonnu Smith to Cole Kmet. But you could do that. And I will say with Jake Ferguson, I'm worried about this offense as a whole. Even his usage is good. I don't know how Cooper Rush is going to do, but if he's going to do what he did back in 2022, it was a CeeDee Lamb show. Even though he was getting insanely high usage, it just wasn't amounting to much. He might fall by the wayside here and just give you a fuller play. So I'm trying to move away off of Jake Ferguson just because without Dak Prescott, man, that offense is just in general. I don't want to play any Cowboys, to tell you the truth.
Agree. I just think if CeeDee Lamb is out, who else do they throw to?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Jonathan Mingo show.
Oh God, please no! Don't do it.
Good Lord.
I just love wasting 4th round picks.
Jesse, I'm not going to tell you again, Jesse. You're naming Dolphins. You're naming all the Dolphins. Stop fading Raheem. The usage, even though it's not what we were seeing last year, it was there. The yardage was there. If he gets in the end zone, it's a different conversation. I think he gets to the end zone this week. Stop fading Raheem, especially for the likes of Jonnu Smith. I should be saying that to Mike McDaniel. Stop fading Raheem.
There you go.
Damn it.
Yeah, he fumbled last week, and they basically benched him for Jalen Wright. So I'm curious to see how that works out moving forward because Wright's been really good, right? So that's the thing. They got good running backs, man. It's just outside of that, I don't know what's going on.
Yuck. Let's move on. 19, Pat Fryermuth. Tyler Conklin is 20. Theo Johnson playing Carolina in 21. Will Disley, 22. Dalton Schultz, 23. Grant Calcaterra, 24. I think he has a big game, assuming Goddard sits. What do you think?
So the sneaky guy in this group is Theo Johnson because the Carolina Panthers, no surprise to anyone who's watched football, they give up the most amount of points to the tight end of any team, most y'all, all that stuff. So I think Theo Johnson's the sneaky play. By the way, we're really bullish on Giants. And when has that ever gone wrong for us in the past, right? So this one could be a disaster. But if you're trusting the matchup, it's an ideal matchup for Theo Johnson to get going. Now, he hasn't seen a ton of targets. How this works out for us, I would expect him to make a really big 50-yard catch. Maybe that turns into a touchdown type stuff because he's an athletic freak. It's something like that. He's not going to get 10 targets. He's not going to be hyper used. But overall, he's a young, promising rookie. Second half of the season, we'll see. He got 6 targets last week, so hopefully that continues this matchup. The other guys, man, to your point, Calcaterra, if I know we don't know if I'm blanking on his name, the Dallas Goedert is playing this week or not. I think that's the interesting aspect of this. He's coming back. It might be next week until he comes back. We just don't know. So this one's kind of a TBD. Calcaterra is just nowhere near the player that Dallas Goedert is, so that's why he falls lower. No. And in this game, the second half, they could just go to Saquon Barkley show and not even need it. This game could get so out of hands. So you're
You
hoping
mean
Calcaterra gets there early, right? Like it's just
you
seems
mean the
and
Kenneth Gainwell show, Jesse? The Kenneth
yeah,
Gainwell
it'll
show.
be
Barkley
fun.
will not need to be out there. That's for damn
Maybe
sure.
we see Will Shipley for once. Like, how about so that's what happens, right? You know?
Hey,
So
yeah.
we'll see. Like in this range of tight ends, though, you're just hoping for guys who are going to catch yards or like get in the end zone. So you could talk about maybe Juwan Johnson also having the role alongside
Sure.
Taysom Hill, because Taysom Hill's going to be playing all over the field. So maybe Juwan Johnson gets in there and one of those guys. But Disley disappointed last week. Tennessee, they're pretty tough against pass. So overall, it's just like it's an interesting range of tight ends, you could say. Not one I'm looking forward to starting any of these guys.
Let's move on to the next group because we are obligated to discuss more tight ends. I think this will be the last ones we talk about.
Yeah.
And it starts with Juwan Johnson at 25, Isaiah Likely at 26, who is questionable right now. We'll see if he suits up on Thursday night. Chig Okonkwo, 27, Colby Parkinson of the Rams, 28, Noah Gray at 29, and Lucas Krull against KC at 30. That should probably be Adam Troutman, but at the moment it's Lucas Krull. At the moment, who gives a crap, Jesse?
Yeah, right. Like Kroll saw some decent usage like the middle of the season because they were dealing with injuries to the other guys. So like, I don't know, man. I don't really want to play a freaking Denver tight end. It is a good matchup though. So if you like a tight end, you can stream one of that. Parkinson, he had a monster game like week 4 and 5, and then since then it's just been nothing for him. Yeah. Juwan Johnson's kind of dealing with an injury, and his usage is never great. And Isaiah Likely is just like not a feature point of the offense at all. So the early season Isaiah Likely, the week 1, like that's just a distant memory at this point. If you're counting on Likely, like you just need to pivot off because this range of tight end, you are just hoping and praying for anything. And Chig Okonkwo, like I don't even want to talk about this dude. He's just been nothing in Tennessee, and that offense sucks. So it's really hard for him, unfortunately. Yeah. Another young guy that him and freaking the ghost of Greg Dulcich in Denver. You know what? These young tight ends, they burned us.
Who did not get moved at the trade deadline?
Yeah, fun.
Obviously, we didn't talk about Goddard other than to say that he's probably not playing. If he is playing, he will shoot up our rankings. Right now, he's at tight end 35. We will change that if he plays. So we are the Fantasy Football Universe. We have been and will continue to be all over your social media channels. We're on X. We're on TikTok. We are on YouTube. We are Instagram. Jesse, what am I missing? We're on we're in the Reddit streets. What the hell else do we do? We're everywhere. We got content daily on multiple. Yeah, we got content daily on multiple platforms, including this one. So please check us out, like and subscribe if you like this content, and that will do it for our Week 10 quarterback and tight end rankings. This is Jesse. I am Jeremy. We are the FFU, and we will see you later.